Stochastic fiction game. This is a timed writing game. I'm going to give myself 1 hour and 18 minutes to write a story based upon these stochastic story elements that were just created and are in this file. And within this file, we're going to read the stochastic fiction story elements. And within this given time, write a story. For today's stochastic fiction game, these story elements are setting, time, present, setting, main location, jungle, conflict, person versus destiny, quantity of primary characters, 1, point of view, second, tense, past tense, present tense. I don't know how I read that past. Let's not think of the past. And mention the story element, genre, fantasy adventure, format, flash fiction. 17 minutes left. Let's brainstorm about this just a little bit. Present. Okay. And it's fantasy adventure. Ooh. It's, a little bit awkward, I guess. Maybe, I guess it just, because when I think of fantasy adventure, it's Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so I think most pop culture people that would even be consuming this media right now would understand what that is. If not, you should check it out. That's my definition of fantasy adventure. And present, so time doesn't mean so much. If this was like a genre true crime or genre science fiction, then present would mean more of a thing, because I place that science fiction in our time and base it upon our present. In a jungle. All right. Fantasy adventure in a jungle. Is this my day? Not that I've been to many jungles, so it'd be a little bit hard to fictionalize that, because the better you understand the non-fiction of a thing, the better you can lie about it for a fiction. Just make people believe you know what you're talking about. Never get specific. Quantity of primary characters, 1. Point of view, second. Tense, present tense. Okay. Present, second person. So second for the you. I got to put you into this. Okay, I guess the one character is you. What's in the jungle? What time is it? 1 hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to arrogantly predict, because I consume... Well, maybe that's just it. I got to step up my game. I consume a lot of fantasy adventure. Like a lot. Oh, my nose itches. One moment. Where's my towels? Oh. Yeah, I know. Writing etiquette, but... a little bit seasoned of the allergies. But that's life. And excuse and sorry for the disgusting noises, but sometimes the human body makes these things. I try to avoid letting farts blow, but sometimes they get caught by the mic. They can have that in the story. I got to think of fantasy adventure now. I got caught up in thinking about something else. So story elements, time, present. Okay, so in a jungle with destiny. So they are not conflicting against society. Person versus destiny. Destiny. Did I spell destiny right? I'm doubting the spelling of destiny right. I don't think I haven't spell checked or grammarly checked any of this, because it's outputted by a script, and I haven't ran that script or something like that. Probably should. Let me think here. Person versus destiny on the you. You. You're in a jungle, and I'm now the only... I've been jungle places. I've had things that would be considered on the... but I've never been truly in a jungle ever. So I can't speak from experience, write from experience, and give those, unique details of actually being in a place that helps make your life good. By jungles, I think of, honestly, like, on pop culture. Tarzan keeps popping into my mind right now. Like, I've written and dungeon mastered inside of jungles before, so I've got some sort of sense of, like, how I would fictionalize this if I were rolling the dice and it wasn't required of me to tell a good story. Well, yes, it is always required of you to tell a good story when you're a dungeon master. But you don't have to, you can, you just got to make sure everybody tells a good story. Not necessarily. Some days you're off, but then you let everybody else help you out, and as you should. Anyway, tangent. Don't need to talk about dungeon mastering. Right, this story at least, because they're in a jungle. It's a fantasy adventure, and I'm not going to do some, like, which would be cool, but this is where, anyway, I could use some sort of fiction. Someone's playing Dungeons and Dragons and their characters in a jungle. Because that'd be like the closest thing to reality that I've gotten into a jungle. Not that I've never written about jungles before, I think was my point. And so now I'm trying, let's go back. Let's not look at the rating system. I need to look at these parameters more. Because I got, like, second. That's fine. Like, you sweat. I feel like I've seen 2 pop culture movies that were in jungles, so I'll pull from them. I think one was a remake of Anaconda. God, and I like to think the other one was called something called Balls Up. I think they end up in some jungle-like area. Man, I think I've been watching. And, hey, wait, hold on. Let's pull in some more information. So, like, Naked and Afraid, I've been watching that, and they're either in Africa in the desert, or they're in some tropical jungle and have to, like, survive the gnats and the rainfall. So that's right. Okay, so wait, boom. So this is a fantasy adventure, though. So if this was not a fantasy adventure and maybe just adventure, then I would probably definitely do some rip-off of something like Naked and Afraid, because it'd show how much ignorance that I've got. And I could do it in the second person. Like, a lot of those things try to pull you into believing you're there. Person versus destiny, your destiny would be, but this is fantasy adventure. Your destiny, for the other one, person versus destiny could have been succeeding at a contest and being the victor and making it through. It would have been probably a shitty story, but it would have been a story. But I can at least use that sort of thing as a way of having observed someone else doing it, though in a reasonably, it's not totally staged. You're still suffering through, even though you probably have a camera person walking 10 feet from you. It'll seem awkward after a while. Let's think about this story, though. So, fantasy adventure in a jungle. Do survivability. They got to survive. Maybe they're on a quest. This is the fantasy adventure of you needing to complete your quest, rite of passage for some thing. In a jungle. And I'm going to lift from, I think it's probably Naked and Afraid. Well, probably that, because series, because I binge watch stuff. I mean, that's just how it goes after a day of sitting silent or speaking in something like this. I need some background noise to keep my mind distracted while I continue to stare at the screen and publish stuff and edit stuff and do all that type of stuff. So yeah, I have noise on in the background, and I like watching people and humans compete. and mostly at times create things, but also actually try to endure just to see the human condition. And one of those movies, this thing's called Naked and Afraid, so I'm going to use that probably pretty heavily to inspire a lot of this sort of adventure of someone's rite of passage. I don't have a dice near. That bothers me. It bothers me because I forgot, but it's not that troubling. I want a dice so I could roll to see and have like the gender and everything just randomly figured for me. I'm gonna grab a dice. A die. Dice. I'm gonna grab dice. I'm gonna grab a set of die. Here we go. We got something to roll. We're gonna make this. All right. So now I can make decisions without having to think about it. What time is it? I got an hour and 7 minutes. That's not too bad. 10 minutes to brainstorm. I think it's probably about average, maybe. I collect all these transcripts and the data, so I can absolutely find that out if I wanted to and cared about it at this point in time. Setting, main location, jungle. Conflict, person versus destiny. Quantity of primary characters, 1. Point of view, 2nd. Present tense, fantasy adventure, flash fiction. Rite of passage. Is that really person versus destiny, though? Like, is my destiny to become... That's not destiny. That's just something you have to do in order to fit into a societal norm. I'm like not destined to have to go through a rite of passage. No, you're going to go through a rite of passage. That has nothing to do with destiny. It's going to be definitely. So let's not look at the parameters. I just got to figure out destiny. You're in a jungle, and your destiny. I could just write it. Your destiny. Destination, the destiny of destination, the destiny of destination. That sounds to me like some... I also read a lot of fantasy adventure, but not a lot of not diverse in worlds, I suppose. Mainly TSR publications up until about 2000 now. 1996 about was the last time I read them all. So Dungeons and Dragons books, based worlds, sort of my canon of fantasy adventure, because that's what I started with. I've never read, I'm going to say this out loud, The Hobbit, and nor the trilogy. And I can't think of many other fantasy adventure writings that I've read since. So heavily biased in that area, and there's maybe going to be hintings of that. I just want to dump that out there too. So I'm using like my observations of people gamifying being naked in a jungle for a set amount of time in a show called Naked and Afraid, and I'm using likely Dungeons and Dragons as like my fantasy world, and it's going to be heavily inspired because even my Of the Small Shield imprint and the books that are going to be published under it, as well as the stream and the movies. Yeah, it wouldn't exist without Dungeons and Dragons and my exposure to it. So it's definitely going to heavily influence this because it's going to be fantasy adventure. I mean, I could definitely make this though if I wanted to make, but I want to try to fictionalize this more than just. If it was contemporary or something else, I'd have someone like you roll the dice. That way, you put someone into it, and I think it'd be not a bad thing. I think it'd be kind of fun in a way. But that's not what I think the parameters tell me. I gotta have it stated, you're destined. And I guess if you want to make this flash fiction, whatever your destiny, whatever is going to prove it was your destiny or complete the circle of destiny, I don't even know like that. What person versus destiny. I'm destined to do this thing. And that's the conflict. So they got to see this thing. They got to see it. It's got to be in the moment where they're about to capture destiny to make this a flash fiction story and then set it up in a fantasy world. And the easiest way to make this into a fantasy world is to put a familiar fantasy creature into it. Dragon, of course, comes into mind. Like, that was the first creature that came to my mind because, well, that's, as far as a villain is concerned in fantasy worlds, the most popular one. Even in stories of what's called, where they're not fantasy, they're more of, they are fantasy in a way, but stories that are, I think dragons. I don't even want to talk anymore about where I was going on that, like, talking tangent, because it just makes me sound stupid. And I got enough times to do that today, so I'll save those opportunities for then. Stop talking about that, but definitely think about. I don't dragons. Dragons just. If I say dragon, you stand before the dragon, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, this is fantasy adventure." If I say you stand before some obscure Dungeons and Dragons creature, then I've just narrowed my audience, which is fine. I just can't think of the right one that's better than dragon. Demon, maybe. But that's so. I don't want to get into. I want dragons. Dragons don't need to. Demons don't need to necessarily exist in a fantasy world. I guess dragons do not either, but they're kind of historically, traditionally a dominant adversary. So you stand before. What are they trying to do with this dragon? I feel like I know. I don't have to feel. I don't. I know because I've written. I think the last time I wrote about a dragon was for a video game flash fiction story. I think that was. I don't know, one where you're storming the castle, Dragonfire, something like that. It may have been called Dragonfire. Anyway, so I just thought of that story, and that's why I had to say it out loud. And it had to do with getting inside of a castle, taking some stuff, and then there's this like dragon-like block that would shoot balls at you, fireballs at you. And as you crossed the moat, your little character, you'd have fireballs being shot at you. That's, if I remember it correctly, it was been maybe a year since I wrote that story. You stand before. Red Dragon's the most popular dragon there is in the world. In my opinion. In my exposure of my world. Let's be fair about that. But, again, Dungeons and Dragons loves the Red Dragon. You stand before the Red Dragon. Maybe I could lift a story. What's like, I mean, destiny. Okay, so we got to solve a problem within 600. Let's just give myself 600 words. I got 58 minutes. The Red Dragon and the Red Dragon's mountain cavern. Let's get the world. Mountain cavern. illuminated by puffs of raging pain, puffs of raging fire blowing from nose. What's the gender of the dragon? 1, 2, female, 3, 4, male, 5, 6 they. And it's totally, it's a dragon. It's just they. Not just they. Would be just he. Just she. Blowing from there. Let's go. Yes, I can genderize dragons in a fantasy world day, and there could be probably someone who would scream, "You can't do that." Dragons have to be male or female because they're born that way. I laugh because, dragons aren't born except for from our imaginations, and our imaginations can expand beyond just that binary state. Because we got to always consider one's mind. It's attached to the body. You stand before the red dragon in the dragon's mountain cavern, illuminated by puffs of raging fire blowing from their nose. Their nose. That's bigger than your... Right now, this is an image that I have in my mind continuously, so it's good to say out loud, is there's an iconic picture, Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, because it's shown in my mind so much, I'm going to find the box set that I have. Yes, I've got the box sets too. So I guess I can... where the hell is that box set? Hold on. I'm going to go get some show and tell. I have this image, and maybe you'll be able to see it. Like in my mind right now, this is just Dungeons and Dragons, the Beck Me series of Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah. It is heavily affecting this fantasy adventure. I'm just going to look at it. I guess I've stopped being a little bit... Well, maybe. It's random as hell. I should use the dice that's in this box to be able to roll if there's any more rolls. I'm going to do that, in fact. Because I do have the dice for this box set. Although this one was the one that didn't come with the 6-sided dice. That's right. But it did come with an 8-sided dice. Love it. This is just missing the 6-sided dice. I'm sure it originally came with the 6-sided dice. All right, enough about that. But this picture is in my mind for some reason, so I think I might go with it. I think I might let it inspire me a little bit in the story. I want to make it not about the big mounds of gold that are below in their feet. Like, that is not something I want at all. Maybe it should be, but that's what they're fighting for. You make the assumption, right? You stand before the red dragon in the dragon's mountain cavern, illuminated by puffs of raging fire blowing from their nose. That's bigger than you. Blowing from their nostrils, blowing from their nose on a... of a head that's bigger than you. Yes, that head is definitely, maybe it's about the same size, but my dragon's got a bigger head. This is Elmore, right? Yeah. What is it? Larry Elmore's Famous Dragons. I think he did all the dragons for the Beckme series. I've got them all, except for the last one. But the last one doesn't have a dragon on it. Yeah. Anyway, let's not talk about the Beckme series of Dungeons and Dragons. Let's go ahead and write this story right here. So you stand before the red dragon in the dragon's mountain cavern, illuminated by puffs of raging fire blowing from their nose of a head that's bigger than you. I'm not going to use I don't know what the original story of this character was, to be honest with you. I didn't own the basic. I haven't read this. This is more a thing to collect because I love box sets. As a publication device, they're so impractical, and they'll never make a comeback because of the amount of materials it took. And they take to create and the investment required. Anyway, let's not talk about box sets for role-playing games. Let's talk about this story and get into it. I almost need to move this box set from this right here because it's becoming very distracting to me. It's almost as if I want to start opening the box and looking at it and reading the books inside. Or they're at least altering my story way too much right now, so just get out of my line of sight because I'm looking at the time right there with 51 minutes left, but I got at least a setup on it. I don't have a title yet. I should probably come up with a title because that, in flash fiction stories, it's like you can almost set up the entire plot and conflict in the title. And the body of the story is just to be able to, resolve that conflict. Bigger than you. Okay, so what is, I just don't want it to be, there's a red dragon, you're going to kill it. And red dragons, I don't think they were chaotic evil. Maybe they were. I can't remember. Was the chromatic? Oh yeah, let's not go down that route. I gotta think of this red dragon in this fantasy world that has nothing to do with any of Dungeons and Dragons, TSR derived worlds, or any other worlds. Next, maybe I'll use Of the Small Shield. Maybe that's what I should do. That's exactly what I should do. I should use my own damn fantasy world. That I do stream. And I've streamed it for years. And it's getting better. The dioramas are released. So let's use that one. And it's going to be a black dragon. Or maybe it's not a dragon. I got 49 minutes. I'm thinking of a black dragon. Because there is a black dragon that's in it. Because it used to live in this swamp area. Then it got, kicked out. And then when it did, well, it moved someplace else. To a canyon. And I had adventurers meet it. So you stand before the black dragon in the dragon's mountain cavern. No, it's not going to be a mountain's cavern in the swamp. Swamp in the region of Eden. But it's got to be jungle. Swamp part of a jungle, sure. In the swamp jungle. In the murky mire. Eden region. No, it's called the Eden region, but let's not do that. It's let's put it into a place. Mire, a day's travel. But the context of a lot of these things will be the town. What do I call the town lino? And there's classically, if I remember right, and I don't deviate when I use my own world to game in or create stories or eventually movies with all these fun dioramas. Deviate far from, I guess, what would be called canon or lore. And if I remember right, the black dragon is breathing acid. That's their breath weapon. I guess I could deviate. Pop culture will still understand what the dragon is, and that still serves its purpose as like something that you're destined to compete with. We still have to be able to make sure that this is in the jungle, so yeah, I can play that one out. There's one primary character, which is you. This is second person, still present tense. I need to remember fantasy adventure are the parameters. So let's go back to this. You stand, so I'm still in present tense, which is usually my default, so it's easy to go. So you stand before the black dragon in the murky mire, a day's travel from the town lino. Drops. Oh man, hopefully I can get this. Drops of acid snot drip from its snout. Its long and narrow snout. It's a snout, right? Oh my god, I know how this is going to end. I just seen it. I think I got the destiny. This is it. It's just, yeah. It'll be a little bit dark. I think probably this type of story has been written before, but I haven't read it, and so I'm going to write it. So you stand before the black dragon in the murky mire, a day's travel from Lino, from the town Lino. I don't need the capital T on that town. I think I had a coffee burp back then. I apologize from that. From the murky mire. You stand before the black dragon in the murky mire, a day's travel from the town Lino. Drops of acid drip from its long black nose, from their long black nose. Let's just go, yeah, from there. Long and narrow snout of a head that's bigger than you. They're giant. I'm going to use some comparisons. So let's just say what's a fantasy like, but boulder sized claws. So you usually have the other arms, right? You can flex the. Does the other one? What is it? The champions? Where's that one? Because that actually had a black dragon on it. I think. It's at least, I can't remember. It's not worth the time to distract. I've got enough imagination, and I only got 43 minutes left. So let's do this. You stand before the black dragon, blah, blah, drops of acid drip from their long and narrow snout, bigger than the head that's you. Their claws are as big as boulders. They're boulder-sized. Boulder? Am I boulder? Their boulder-sized claws press into what do I call that? Vines, strong grass. Vines and something. Vines and plants. Vines and plants. Ooh. Describe it. Their boulder-sized claws press, pierce muck. Leaves. Smash. Swamp saplings. Saplings and choke vines. Into the squishy ground. Their wings. Just describe this black dragon. Yeah. I'm not even going to be using all that discussion I said about Naked and Afraid. Where we go with that story. That would have been a fun story. That's not where I'm going to go with this. I don't got time. 40 minutes, having like survival skills. I guess where I was going with that one, just to sort of talk it out of existence, is that I would have had it been like they got to get like a golden chalice on top of a pyramid and they're going through the jungle, but they had to do it naked. And for some reason, you'd have to make up that story. And then they walking up the pyramid and they get to the top and the chalice and I don't know, they live or die. I would have rolled the dice. I'm not going to roll the dice on this story because I already know the end of it a little bit. But this is like the encounter. This is the final encounter, but I got to set it up for destiny. Your destiny is to kill the black dragon. You're told your destiny is to kill the black dragon. That's going to be the title of the story. And then I could use this for, that's fair. I mean, I've done this with the sheriff before, so it's all a matter of process and getting to that story, which I do stream live on Twitch. Still, probably when you hear this, maybe not. But word processing, though. I had word prostitute on Twitch, but now it's just twitch.tv word processing. Word processing, that is. You stand before the black dragon in the murky mire, a day's travel from the town Lino. Drops of acid drip from their long and narrow snout of a head that's bigger than you. Their boulder-sized claws smash saplings and choke vines into the squishy ground. Their wings span, their wings fold. They're how big are these wings? What's a fantasy? They're drawbridge-sized wings, maybe? That seems a little weird, but it's at least a comparison that's fantasy. And I can't think of what's like a A galleon mast size wings. Mast. What do you call cells? The size of a galleon cells. Galleon. I gotta look this up on the search and return. Galleon cells. Cells. Like I don't. Yeah, cells. The size of galleon cells. Yeah, let's just do that. They're huge. The size, their wings, because I want something, I don't want a drawbridge because that's like heavy. I mean, having a comparison to something like a drawbridge for wings doesn't make sense, but we want this fantasy. Their wings, the size of a galleon cells. And you can say, well, which one? Let's see. Let me click on this picture right here. The main course, maybe. The main mast, the size of a main mast. The foremast, the main mast is the whole, is it to pull the mast, to climb the mast? You got the main mizzen. What is a mast? Let's just make sure I can use my words. Because that's really all that's going to matter. Okay, there's the tarl vertical floor that supports the cells in the rigging. Got it. Just got to verify. Sometimes I can't remember everything and have self-doubt all the time, every day, right now. I had to look up mast. Their wings the size of a galleon cells, fold behind. Their ship-sized body. Body with a tail. That wax. Cypress. I'm just going to use real trees because I think I have a decent balance. I make up some plant names, but I have opportunity to describe them when I write it in novella. But I also have tree names that are familiar in our world, so I can help at least draw people into that fantasy. It's crazy, when I went fantasy adventure, I didn't automatically think of the small shield, but I guess that's just the way that one, I guess because it wasn't on the floor of my mind. From the ship, the side of the body and the tail that whacks a tree. And splashes. And muddy mire surrounding even you. All right, boom. Now I gotta why is it a destiny? I gotta build up this event. I've got the big black dragon, and this is like, should I just write the end? I make people anticipate, will they live or die? I'm gonna save it in my mind. I already know. I'm not even gonna roll the dice. The die. I'm not gonna roll the die. $33 minutes left. Let's write this person's you. You stand born. Try to keep this in the present as much as possible, because that is a criteria. Present tense, past tense, writing past tense, it's just a little bit everything, because if you make everything past tense, then if you need to go into the past, you just can still use past tense. So if you have like some flashback. Having present tense then using past tense is sometimes tricky and can make it hard to read. Note experience. Conflict, person versus destiny. I like how I've got these two. Okay, so I got the right tense. You stand born from the streets of Lino. Without parents, nor friends to help you, still a sack of rice. You were told by the old the old man, the seer, who preaches, who speaks the wisdom of some deity in this world, not a bin. I've already got that going, and I'm gonna do one that is I don't not Pernick. That's chaos. The null will not do that. Wisdom of bin, chaos. Chaos of fate. In the town square, before the Westmore Inn, and near the fountain, and on the stage, on the sauna stage of saunas, on the stage of saunas, in the town square before the Westmore Inn. Who speaks of bin and the chaos of fate on the stage of saunas? What are you? You're you, so I'm going to try. You, my child, are grown and destined to save to end the fear of. I forgot the black dragon's name, though. I'll just make something up. They're usually like long. Historically, I feel like you can't have like a 3-letter dragon name. Yeah, you could. And this is really good. Zax. The Dragon of the Dark. Maybe it's the Dark Dragon. Oh, that makes more sense. That's even within the world. A Dark Dragon. I like that. I like that because I have this concept of light and dark, so I'm just going to put Dark Dragon. The Dark Dragon. Because there's a Light Dragon too. My dragons aren't the same, so I'm going to make that so right now. The Night Dragon. Let's go with the Dark Dragon. I like the Night Dragon though. Because that's still, do they do night and day though? I don't think, let's go Dark Dragon. Yes, yes, and yes. I guess that's one thing about having like a chromatic dragon as your basis is that you automatically like define what the color it is. But I think dark from a black head bigger than you. Yeah, okay. So let's just further emphasize what dark means. Okay, this might. You were born of the streets of Lino without parents nor friends to help steal sacks of rice or make. I can just do the naked. This will help with. And this is how they survive. So I can think of some of the naked or cut the limbs of cypress. I don't know swamp trees in my mind right now, and I don't know how to spell them, but I don't have time to care. Cypress limbs to make lean-tos, nor help weaving vines. To make rope and baskets to lift and haul. Walks in the quarry. What is it? I can't remember the name of the mountains off the top. In the mountains. In the Pack Mountains. In the quarry. On the base. Near Lino. You stole your dagger. You stole the short sword. You stole a short sword. You stole your short sword, a short sword. It's now yours. John the Goblin. I'll probably have to change this. Because John the Goblinkin is, yes, a character. Maybe it could be. Maybe the same one. Well, they lay passed out at the Lino Inn. In the common room. You lifted your shield from the wall of the shield and axe armory. Blacksmith forge, the blacksmith, the shield and axe forge. Wow. The chain shirt hangs lifted, stolen, taken from the orc, the goblin. Let's go orc. The chain shirt taken from the orc. Every theft. The chain shirt taken from an orc. They fought a boxing bout. A fist bout. On the sauna stage. To win the title. Of Lionel Fist. A punching bout. Lionel's pouching champ. Night. That's better. Every theft you believe part of your destiny. As told to you by the seer of Ben on that sauna stage. Every day, rain or shine or snow. Let's get rid of that right there. To kill Zax. I probably have used this name before because I don't know why. But I'm going to do Dustin to kill. I don't know how to even pronounce this. Zags. The terror of Lino. You stand by. Let's give this. That's the name. Oh, yeah. Short, weird looking. I don't know how to pronounce it right now. I'll figure out a way. And then everyone's going to have trouble with it. And you say, how do you, I don't know, some dragon. And everyone would be like, yeah, it's maybe a dragon name. Maybe. Every theft you believed it to be part of your destiny told by the seer Ben on the stage. I'll just leave that space. It'll make it easier to read. The Terror of Lino. Zax. The stories of Zax. Yixaz spread around alley camp, spread around the homeless kids, the homeless child laborers, children, in the work in the alleys. In the hollers, the hollows around Lino, and the work camps for the Pack Mountain Quarry. Quarry. A story of Zax spreads the homeless children hollows, spread around homeless children hollows of Lino in the work camps for the Pack Mountain Quarry in the season. It's told Zach Quarry. Stories of Zach's. On Westmore Constables. Stories of expert on the hollows of line on the camps. Stories of Zach spraying acid breath on Westmore Constables. During the I'm just say the cleaning, the cleansing. Cleansing. I don't know, cleansing. The cleansing during the cleansing of Ben. Stories of Zach melting flesh. Let's do this. This is better. This acid breath melting flesh of Westmore constables during the cleansing, during the chaos cleansing of Ben. Of Westmore. The Westmores. The chaos cleansing, the cleansing of Westmore. What am I'm trying to think of some crusade, the Westmore Crusade. Cleansing crusade. That's what I want. A Westmore cleansing crusade. Or the bones broke. In the fields of Vineway, under the Zach's massive claws. Older than Lino. Older than Lino. Older than Lino. What did I call this person? I got like 10 minutes. I'm late. Where was the crazy person? What was that dude's name? You stand before Zach, blah, blah, blah. To John the Goblin Kid. Every theft to be part of a destiny told by the seer of John. The seer John. Joss. On the sauna stage nearly every day. A story of 100,000 gold pieces spread and read on parchment throughout Lino, Vineway, Westmore, and even as far as the city-state of Desertport. I just spelled that wrong. Okay, so I'm just using a lot of right now, all of this basically world I know. So this is very easy for me to push out and not have to like get too confused. Even if there's Warren, I could probably use the template of this type of stuff to be able to fictionalize another world quickly. But this is easy right now for me. It may be bad, But I'm not feeling a lot of stress because I'm using things I'm familiar with and words and worlds I've created and are in my mind actively as well, very actively. I create dioramas with this scene here, so I can push these words pretty quick. And I've been doing this for decades. Not specifically this process. This process has only been about a few years, but this game, rather. Vineway, Westmore, and even far as city-state of Desert Port. Greed and nativity, naivete. I don't know how to spell naivete. Greed, being naive. That's how I got to search and return. How do I spell naivete? Naivety. Oh, it's an E. Okay. Inspire you to still and swing your sword daily. You fight in the jungle alone, knowing any sight of the stolen items will trigger arrest by the constables or death by the owners. You chop trees, you spin, you even hunt, kill a boar. Each day and each morning for years, and nearing your time to you hear the seer say, destiny is now. Until one day, the seer says, your destiny is now. And you stand before the black dragon. And blows acid breath. And raise your shield. Blows acid. The acid sprays and melts the shield. And splashes over, melting the chain shirt, I got 3 minutes. And you. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn this off because I got 2 minutes left, and that's what I got to write. This is the story. There's some details I'm already thinking about, things that I would like to add maybe. But time is it as it is, so let's go ahead and let's read this story aloud. I don't want to take more time than I was given myself to do this. For today's stochastic fiction game with these story elements, setting time present, setting main location jungle, conflict person versus destiny, quantity of primary characters 1, point of view 2nd, tense present tense, genre fantasy adventure, format flash fiction. The jungle parameter is, well, at least starts there and ends there. For today's stochastic fiction game story, we have, let's correct this title name first though. You're told your destiny is to kill the dark dragon. For today's stochastic fiction game story, we have you're told your destiny is to kill the dark dragon. You're told your destiny is to kill the dark dragon. You stand before the dark dragon's axe. In the murky mire, a day's travel from the town of Lino. Drops of acid drip from their long and narrow snout of a black head that's bigger than you. Their boulder-sized claws smash saplings and choke vines in this squishy ground. Their wings, the size of a galleon's sails, fold behind their ship-sized body with a tail that whacks a tree from its roots when splashes in the muddy mire surrounds even you. You stand, born from the streets of Lino, without parents nor friends to help steal sacks of rice or cut the limbs of cypress trees to make lean-tos, nor helping weave vines and rope to weave vines to make rope and baskets to lift and haul rocks in the quarry of the Pack Mountains near Lino. You stole your short sword from John the Goblinkin while they lay passed out in the common room of Westmore Inn. You lifted your shield from the wall of the Axe Forge at night while Miss Wilk slept. The chain shirt taken from an orc while they fought punching bout on the sauna stage to win the title of the Lino's Punching Night. Every theft you believed to be part of your destiny as told by the seer of Ben Josh on that same sauna stage nearly every day, rain or shine or snow, and he tells you that you, my child, are grown and destined to kill Zax to Terra Lino. The stories of Zax spread around homeless children's hollows of Lino and the work camps for the Pack Mountain Quarry. Stories of Zack's acid breath melting flesh of Westmore constables during the Westmore cleansing crusades, or broke the bones in the fields of Vine Way by the swipe of his massive tail spread around. Some say Zax is older than Lino. The story of 100,000 gold pieces for the death of Zax and the horns spread and read around on the parchment of Lino, Vine Way, Westmore, and even as far as the city-state of Desert Port. Greed and naivety inspire you to still and swing your sword daily in the jungle alone, knowing any sight of the stolen items will trigger arrest by the constables or death by the others and the owners. You chop trees, you spin, you even hunt and kill a boar. Each and every day for years you hear the seer, destiny is coming. Until that one day during spring the seer says to you, your destiny is now. You stand before Zax and shout, destiny! You raise your body-sized shield before you, believing the legends told around the campfire of the shield you stole. Zax opens its mouth and blows acid. The acid spray blasts from its mouth and melts the shield and splashes over, melting the chain shirt and you. A little dark. Not bad. Let's rate that story. I'll go with 3. I think in rewriting it, get rid of a little bit of the stench because there's a lot of plot holes and like motive and all that type of stuff. That why would this person be inspired to go do this? I think a little bit more of that needs to be built up. Maybe. I like some of the descriptions. It's not terrible. I'll probably lift the description of using cells and ship-size cells for descriptions of size of dragons. That's something I don't think I've done before, nor read, to be honest with you. So I'm happy that came through the story. So I'll give this a 3. Having had rated this at the end, let's add the story. We got to add it to the memory. The process. Git add. Boom. Write the story inspired by the outline elements. I rate the story to be a 3. It is missing some motive and details. That would be nice. Well, time is done. Words have been wrote. Some words maybe form some sort of story, maybe a flash fiction story, maybe not. Let time and maybe some fantasy adventure help define whether it is or is not. Until that next time, experience life in real, and maybe you can better your fictional fantasy adventure in a jungle. I think I need to go visit one someday just so, well, I can improve my own story by experiencing life.